Hey everybody, great to have you back here in the fish tank. Now, a quick video today just to bring you up to date with some things that have happened over the last 2 days with regards to Minion Masters and the latest patch. There was kind of something that I missed out in the patch notes, and then there's a few things that went under the radar that weren't in the patch notes but have changed, definitely worth mentioning them. And then we had a hotfix yesterday to address some things. So let's go through those, bring everyone up to date. Right, so version 2.5, Emergency Mitigation Protocol. So one of the things that big changes for 2.5, but I managed to somehow forget these for the patch notes. Kind of wasn't my fault, but also was my fault. New deck rules for pre-mates. So this is something that people haven't really noticed, because I guess most people don't really read patch notes and stuff, and the way that it's kind of communicated in the game hasn't been great. There's been a broken error message as well, which makes things even worse. But what are the new deck rules? No wildcards. So in 2v2 pre-mates, just like we've had in solos for a long time, no wildcards. What's a wildcard? A wildcard is it allows you to duplicate a card. So you can use previously 2 wildcards, so you could have 2 copies of 2 cards or 3 copies of a single card. And if you look in your deck building, if a card is using wildcards, it has a little check, kind of sort of a little tab above it. Right, so no wildcards for pre-mates, so that means they only still exist in randoms. But additionally, and this is the rule that's been tripping up a lot of people, your 2 decks for pre-mates, yours and your teammates, must be created of 20 unique cards. That means that you cannot play the same card in both decks. And that's kind of been a little bit frustrating, and I can see why, because people have to change their decks. And especially newer players have access to less cards and such. But those are the 2 new rules. So if you're struggling to queue into pre-mates and it's giving you an error message, that's because you're breaking 1 or 2 of these rules. No wildcards, 20 unique cards. Now, one thing I did notice from a little bit of testing is that if you go into a lobby with a deck that's not valid and then you edit that deck, that edit sometimes doesn't get saved back to the lobby. So even though you've changed your deck, the lobby still thinks you're using the illegal deck. And I think there's a couple of ways to kind of force that to update. You can either switch to a different deck and then switch back. I think that does it. Or you can just leave the lobby and rejoin it. So it's kind of a bit awkward. The UI is not great for this, but these are the changes, and as long as you keep them in mind, then you shouldn't have any problems queuing for pre-mates. And of course, the reason behind this is to just reduce all of the cheesy strats with, you know, people playing 6 strat launchers, loads of gaxes, stuff like that, and just to make it something that is more of a skill-based game mode. Now, as I mentioned, randoms still has wildcards. Randoms is kind of whatever goes. Right, so we had a hotfix. What are we today? Thursday? I think it was on Wednesday yesterday. So we had a hotfix to fix a few things. One of them was, with the 2.5 update, matchmaking got completely broken in ranked mode. And so basically what that meant was that when you queued, it just found you anyone immediately. So you just got wildly differing elos and ranks within matches because of that. And unfortunately, some unscrupulous people have clearly just grinded that recently to get to the top of the leaderboard as soon as possible. But you know, these things happen. We've seen it before when there was the bug where you got loads of bug matches. People took advantage of that as well. Okay, so now that's been fixed, so you should be getting much better much better matchmaking. Might take a little while to stabilize since people have been grinding a lot, but we'll see how that goes. One thing the hotfix also introduced was that the random matchmaking has been improved. And the way it's been improved is that you should get teammates that are closer to your elo for the same amount of time that you've queued than you did before. So, I don't know, completely just picking numbers out of the air as an example. If you queued for 2 minutes before, maybe you could get a teammate that was 400 elo away from you. Now it's only 350 or something like that. So basically you should get better teammates in randoms. Teammates closer to your actual ability based on their elo. Okay, so that's one of the changes. One of the other changes regarding rank and rank points is your opponent's rank no longer affects your rank points lost or gained. So that is now purely based on ELO. And I do like a lot of the things being tied more directly to ELO, because ELO is, as we know, a better indication over a longer period of somebody's ability. But of course we still have that awkwardness where ELO is not shown in the game at all, completely invisible. So more and more things related regarding the ELO, but it's completely invisible to the end user, which really does need to be fixed. So that really basically, if you're playing someone of the same ELO, then whatever their rank is irrelevant. So that should make things a bit nicer, because before, if you lost to someone of the same ELO as you, if you were both at the same rank, you'd lose X amount of points. But if their rank was really low, maybe they'd started late in the season or something, you would lose a lot of points, because it'd take into account that you'd lost against a lower ranked player, even though their rank in that situation is kind of irrelevant. So that should make really the points won and lost make a lot more sense now. Right, and one of the other things is draft now gains matchmaking. We've been saying this since 2.0 launched, because basically draft has had no matchmaking. Previously, before 2.0, the matchmaking within draft would be based upon how many wins you've got. Makes sense, right? You've got more wins, the game looks to pair you up against other people with more wins, because that's kind of the strength value in that scenario. But for some reason, when 2.0 came, that completely got broken, and matchmaking was just a complete free-for-all. It would look for just the closest, it would just find someone immediately. And the law of averages, there's more worse players than good players, so most players had very few wins. So you could go through a complete 12 run and not play someone that was over 3 wins or something. So that was kind of awkward, but that's now been fixed. So draft matchmaking should be a lot tighter, which means drafting should be a lot harder now. And one of the other things that they changed, which was kind of a little bit confusing, if you're in your draft run and you're on 4 wins, it will show you 4 wins. But follow along, if you play against someone that's on 4 wins and then you check their deck after the match, previously it would say 4 because that's the number of wins they're on. Now it would say 8 because this is the number of wins they now need to get 12. It's really confusing. I hate it. But apparently the change is so it makes sense with the numbers going in the same direction as the borders for the ranks. But I hate it. So that's one of the changes. And also one of the things that was included in the hotfix was another nerf to the Wartrack Dreadnought. But I still feel like they're not nerfing what needs to be nerfed. So the damage has gone down a little bit from 50 to 45. Remember, it has 2 attacks at perk 2, so that's a double nerf. So there's some breakpoints there, not killing things in one hit like it would before. So that's definitely going to be felt. The scrap, the missile scrap damage, so that's the perk 3. Shooting from the top of it, it's going down from 50 to 40. Again, it's not going to kill so many things in one shot. But I feel like that. I feel like the perk 3 version is substantially better than all of the other versions. Why? Well, the difference is that it has a bit more health, but it also has that damn scrat on the top. So one of those two things has got to be why the perk 3 version is so strong. And shooting the scrat missile and then spawning a scrat is so powerful, because especially in solos when you're maybe just pushing into it with one, or potentially pushing into it with one minion, you simply can't, because it's constantly spawning these scrats, and the scrats are just tanking for it, which makes it so difficult to push into. And that's really one of the strengths. We've seen cars like the Zip Zapinator, their strength is they're hard to push into unless you really commit. But guess what? The Zip is bad against Horde, but this guy's not. Of course, we know that air units are its sort of kryptonite, but it's not so easy to get them without them getting spelled or something like that. So another nerf to the Wartrack Dreadnought, but I still unfortunately think it's going to be too strong. Right, let me know in the comments, what do you think about the nerf to the Dreadnought? How is it feeling with regards to you playing it or playing against it, especially after this hotfix? And also one of the big changes, of course, that we spoke about previously were the bridge changes. And let me know how you're finding the new bridge changes. There's certain cards that their interaction with the bridges are different. Remember, now you have to be on the bridge for 1.5 seconds to take the bridge. So that definitely changes things. Feels like bridge buddies are very weak at the moment because the scrat can just easily get picked off before it grabs the bridge. KP feels... I don't know if it's necessarily worse, but it feels very different with the bridge changes because you can't just put something on a bridge and then take it and grab the next bridge. You've got to be on the bridge for long enough before you switch it, and then you might be too far forward to cap the next one or go back. And but that might be just a case of adjusting to the changes with how it plays with King Puff and the trick swap, and trying to just relearn the skills there. And so there's some different changes out there, but I think overall some good changes. But it's, as always, it's interesting to hear what you guys think. Let me know. If you're enjoying the content here, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Really appreciate your time. My name's Bad as a Fish, and I'll see you again soon here in the fish tank.